I sort of have to sit there and go, yeah, I've done a video about Whitney Webb telling that Palantir runs our government, which is true. I've said this before. Now, they're of course trying to discredit her. I've talked about that. But, people have to understand, these men in Palantir, the Palantir boys, PayPal boys, they don't give a shit. They're running things. Like I said before, I believe they have their AI monster already created, because when the Iran attack happened, they shut all satellites down and the internet in every country around the world, so no one would see what was about to happen in Iran. That takes very smart people to do that. And I think their AI they created it way back in the day. It's been doing everything like planning 9/11 all the way to what you see now. And they are the puppet masters. They're the ones who have manipulated so much that people don't realize they've been manipulated. Like, okay, the BLM stuff was done by them. Back in the day, if you remember the Weather Underground, the people that kidnapped Patty Hearst, they worked for the CIA. The only group of, like you have Antifa, you have BLM, they're both done by the CIA. Now, you could look at the Black Panthers, they definitely were not controlled by it because of who they were. And the government did not, the FBI targeted them, but this whole thing, from that, if you go back to when Trump became president, Hillary got more votes, Trump got the White House. What originally was called, before it was called the Russiagate dossier, it was called the Pissgate. Why? Because in one of the stories in it, it was I think by Gawker, was that when Trump stayed in this hotel in Russia, that he found out that when the Obamas had slept in the same bed, this is what the story was, he paid 2 Russian hookers to pee on the bed so he didn't have to sleep on it. People laughed at that. That is the Steele dossier, also known as the Piss dossier. So, and who manufactured that? Of course Palantir did. They did this just like everything else from 9/11 on. Yeah, they put Trump in the White House. They control the Electoral College. Democrats in 2020, because they didn't get their Hillary Clinton, they knew 2020. And by the way, Palantir was always planning to get rid of Trump because he bragged about 2 things they don't like anyone knowing about: Venezuela and Syria. Stealing the oil from Syria, they don't want people to know we were doing that. And they also don't want people to know that we destroyed Venezuela's economy over not being able to get their hands on the oil. There you go. So these were things that got Trump removed. So the voting, the Democrats and some Republicans worked together. They said, we're going to do vote by mail. Most states don't do it. There are very few states that actually do vote by mail. And they should. You saw a video of them bringing ballots in Georgia to count after they said they were done counting. In Michigan, they were bringing ballots. In both these states, Trump had such a commanding lead when they decided the first ever time in the history of voting to stop counting the vote. In the midst of counting we've never done that. When they came back, suddenly Biden has a commanding lead in both these states, and nobody on the left thought that was strange. And by the end, the amount of votes Biden got made him the most popular president in modern history. It means he's more popular than JFK, Obama, and every other president before him. That's right. They rigged the voting. And then after they pushed January the 6th, where even the Department of Justice said Trump did not cause an insurrection. No, there was no insurrection. The FBI, we're talking Ray Epps and Nick Fuentes, told people to storm the Capitol, while Alex Jones was the only one that said, don't fall for it, don't fall for the trap. The Proud Boys leader was in another state, and he had been informing for the FBI, was put in prison for 20 or 30 years. He wasn't even there. And the same with the guy who was the leader of the other group, who both got they weren't even in the state. That should tell you everything. They persecuted Trump supporters, all for going to the Capitol to protest the election, and Mike Pence could have decertified the election, allowing the states, which Trump said would not have guaranteed he would have won, it would have made the election fair. What they did, most people didn't realize, was after that, both sides decided, okay, Republicans turned on Trump. They did not like Trump being president. Trust me, they hated him. So what they did, they conspired with the Democrats, and they decided to change the law so that not only could the vice president could no longer decertify the election, effectively killing the state electoral college. Then, if you deny the election, and this was all because of Trump denying that the election, saying that the election was stolen, which it was, no longer can say that. If you deny you can go to prison. So they did that because, well, to prevent Trump from, and they thought if we prosecute Trump and put him in prison, he can still be president. Instead of leaving Trump alone, they started going after him, taking classified, which, by the way, the president can do. Obama's done this, Bill Clinton did it, every other president, including Joe Biden as a senator, took a bunch of classified MVP, which he's not legally allowed, had in his garage. They didn't go after him. They went after Trump, which made him, and by the way, idiots, you made him dead. You on the fucking Democrats, you're the reason he decided to run again. He was out of the office. You got him out. Instead of leaving the fucker alone, maybe let him live his rest of his life going back to do whatever he does. You made this guy want to run again. Yeah. So Palantir knew they wanted Trump to run again, so they got him out and they told him why. He went home. Then because they decided, Palantir ran this operation on Trump. They set it up so people would feel sorry for Trump. Oh my God, look, they're persecuting Trump. That's this whole prosecution was. They were the stupidest things to go after Trump, and they laid it out. We're going to get him for a loan to a bank. Oh, he had an affair with Stormy Daniels. Paid her hush money, not illegal. Oh, and E. Jean Carroll, who told Cooper that, no, Trump didn't rape her and didn't, when Bill de Blasio offered to have Trump prosecute, refused. In her lawsuit that they changed the law allowing her to file, she claimed rape. The jurors didn't even believe her horse shit, and the judge told them, come back with anything, like he touched her inappropriately. So they came back with sexual assault, which is essentially he grabbed this one without permission. There's no proof. Stormy Daniels, the whole thing was a joke. So all these convictions were bullshit, and it made people feel sorry, especially minorities who've been persecuted by the system. Made Trump very likable. Then there was the fake attempt on him, which he was never shot in the ear or anything. There was no blood, except for this. That was it. They faked his own attempt, and people went, oh my God. And because the Biden administration did such a shitty job and committed genocide, Palantir's plans were working. Not only did they tell Biden to stay in, which backfired, yeah, they had Obama put his neck out there, George Clooney. All these people take orders and do what they said. To the point that by the time the voting was over, Trump not only already had the White House because of Palantir's electoral college control, the voting went so far it made Biden's bullshit win. And this was actually because people were fucking angry. We were watching a genocide, and the economy was shit, and people were struggling, and that's why people voted against both Harris and her VP. She was never going to be president. So Trump gets back in, and because and let me also, 2020. Yes, black people said and I'm not joking when I heard so many black people say we need to decriminalize drugs. Putting black people who would do pot in public, unlike white people who do it in home, they did it in public and got arrested and went to prison. This is wrong. This is racist to put black people in prison for smoking pot or for selling drugs. They wanted to decriminalize, which means no more prosecutions. Palantir thanks you because now you have your overdoses, Nick Cruz. You guys fell for it, and they did run you like little. They manipulated you into begging for decriminalization so they could kill you with a drug overdose, like what George Floyd. Yes, liberals, governors. What did they do? When Trump, the year 2020 after COVID was done here, not in China. It was done in China, but when the George Floyd, he was put in prison for almost killing a woman. Then suddenly, because of COVID, liberal governors were told, release the violent criminals back on the streets. So George Floyd and every other encounter police, he went without a care. This time, he knew if he got caught with committing a crime, back to prison. So that's why he resisted following the cops' orders. And it was resisted till he pushed himself past Derek Chauvin, and that's why they restrained him. That doesn't mean he should have let him up what he said. And he said in the vehicle, I can't breathe. They offered, he admitted to being on drugs, or they could have gone to the hospital trying to treat him. But no. And what happened? They used BLM to trick black people. Yes, let's riot and burn our cities to ground. And Antifa jumped in, and it became riots. People died, like a retired cop and others. And one guy who worked, I think it was a bartender or whatever, was assaulted. He shot and protected himself. And then they threatened, we want prosecution. So he killed himself. And then you had basically, Derek Chauvin, railroad, kangaroo court that put him in prison, not because he was proven to have done anything wrong, because that's how our legal system works. You had the McMichaels put in prison, and the neighbor that, all because the judge tossed out the defense. And their lawyers didn't even do a good job of defending them. So it was obvious they were going to go. Then you had the what's her name, the former paramedic who, according to a neighbor, the police did announce themselves multiple times and shot through the door, hit a cop in the thigh. They shot back, killing Breonna Taylor. That's actually what happened, but they didn't prosecute the fucking drug dealing boyfriend. This, all you guys did to push, and then here's the real kicker: Charlottesville. Oh, I've heard it over and over. I heard how many times Trump said, do you denounce white supremacy? Yes, he literally denounced it every time they goddamn sued. I got to the point I wanted to shoot myself in the head. I remember this. Okay, why did the city give Antifa a permit to be there when they knew the white supremacists were going to be there? Because this was orchestrated by Palantir, yes it was, to do one thing. To essentially, make the media, turn on Trump. So when he said, and this is actually, he said in his press conference about Charlottesville, he said there are fine people on both sides. And they said, what do you mean fine people? He clarified it. He said, I'm not talking about Antifa. I'm not talking about the white supremacists. I'm saying the people that are in a room right now discussing what to do about the Robert E. Lee statue. Whether to remove it or leave it. That's what he meant. And people only took, he said there were good, fine people on both sides. Didn't hear the rest of what he said. Go back and look it up. I'm not going to find it for you. And he did. Every time they asked, you denounce. And the same fucking stupid woman asked him. He said, yes, I denounce it and all of it. Yeah, he called the Klan a terrorist organization. The only president ever do that. Now, let's continue down this path of stupid. People are dumb. Easy to manipulate. Palantir manipulated all the blacks and everything. Oh, we got a riot and da-da-da because of George Floyd. Then you had the fucking Seattle Shaz where 2 kids were shot and I think killed by a fucking thug who took over. Yeah. And you got people like, yeah, that was a good thing. Then you had the mother who got her daughter shot because she decided to fuck with 2 people with guns, and that's actually what happened. And you had other people killed. All the racism. All this shit orchestrated, manipulated. People are, yeah. And look what happened. Statues got removed. History, oh, yes. So we go through the 4 years of Biden. What happened? They pushed the DEI to get you to turn on each other. And the thing about Hollywood, it's always been very progressive. Go look at the original Star Wars trilogy. Leia's a feminist character. Throughout it, she is. She's a girl boss. In the New Hope, she gets all the men killed and that were traveling with her are dead. Then when she's rescued by Luke and she calls him small, you're not Obi-Wan. He goes, no, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. And then she shoots a hole when they're trapped by the corner by the stormtroopers, tells everyone to get into it. They almost get crushed in a trash compactor. Then in Empire, she talks down to Han, calls him a scruffy nerf herder, kisses Luke, talks down to Han until she sees Lando Calrissian and suddenly makes her go, mm-hmm. And then suddenly decides to become, and then Han gets, Feminism has been in Hollywood. You all love Terminator 2. I hate Terminator 2 because he took Sarah Connor and made her a feminist character that beats up men and tells a fucking family right before she plans to kill men are bad. They don't know how to create. They only know how to destroy. That's from Feminist Playbook. Then we get, what was it? Aliens. Okay. Aliens, a sci-fi masterpiece about a parasite that wipes an entire crew except for one crew member and can lay their own eggs. There's the deleted scene with Dallas is cocooned. Ripley looks down, sees an egg open. He's clearly got one of these things inside of him, and it is a parasite. Now, Robert Heinlein wrote Starship Troopers. Okay, in the book, the bugs are the Russians and the humans are Nazi Germany. That's why the way they dressed. Yes, the human beings are, in fact, this is based on the invasion of Russia by the Nazis. Yes. Now, here's the thing about George Lucas. He wrote for 12-year-olds, but he based the rebels on the Viet Cong. This is based on the Vietnam War, and he based the Galactic Empire on the U.S. government. Now, and I include the prequels, which he based in the invasion of Iraq. The Iraqis who were fighting, I'm not talking about Al-Qaeda or ISIS, I'm talking about the actual people fighting back. America's illegal war were the good guys, while America was once again evil. Now, Star Trek, people don't realize this, it's a federation. There's no currency. This was asked, why does Star Trek have no currency? Because the word federation, there's only one country that uses the word federation, that's Russia. Gene Roddenberry based the Federation on the Soviet Union and the Klingons on America and the West. Conquer, kill, steal, the things that we do. Yes, collectivism, people. Everybody works collectively to support everyone else. Nobody has any currency, everybody shares everything, there you go. Yep, and they get free health care. That's another thing. Nobody pays for anything in this Federation. You get free housing. Everything's free because it's one big socialist. And all these people go, oh, I didn't know they were being fed that stuff. So it's always been very woke. You just didn't realize it because you weren't paying attention. Progressivism. And they cry, oh my God, woke. It's all. And by the way, you bought into fucking, how the whole propaganda when it comes to Hollywood movies, military movies. Top Gun was a gay military movie. Propaganda. Top Gun Maverick was, everybody in the world recognizes Taiwan as part of China, we're talking the U.S. has said, every country has said, Taiwan's a part of China. They speak Cantonese, which is one of the languages people of China. Okay, so what do they do? The director puts a Taiwanese flag on on Maverick's coat. So they're starting problems, and China refuses to. Nobody in China watched Maverick. And your music is propaganda. Is controlled by the CIA. So and they've been running all this stuff, and they have won. And so what we have is Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, which is named after the all-seeing eye of Sauron, said to a Palestinian woman who confronted him, do you know you're killing me? He goes, yes, we are killing your people, and we will continue to do it till there are no more. I think that's pretty much what he said, and he smiled. Now, if you remember when Trump became president, he held a press conference asking countries, we want to remove the Palestinians. We want you to take them. Take them. They won't be here. We're not letting them stay. Either you take them or they're going to die. They offered every country to step up and take these people. We knew Egypt wasn't going to do it because every time they've done in the past, they've been invaded by Israel. So no country spoke up. So, there you go, ethnic cleansing. You had a choice. I'm just saying, this is what they offered. Remove them, let them live somewhere. No one spoke up. No country, no American spoke up. They said, no, they should stay and fight. Okay, they're getting exterminated. That's not going to stop. You're not going to get punishment. You're not going to get, these people are going to go on trial. No. Because Palantir runs everything. They control it. They have a copy of the blackmail, as Whitney Webb said. Yes. And that's why Maxwell has moved to a prison in Texas to keep her mouth shut. You're not getting the Epstein. Oh yes, all this stuff is done because people say, where's the Epstein files? You're not getting them. And it sounds like they never had them to begin with. Plus, Trump called it a hoax, and now we have him weaponizing, which I knew was going to come. Remember, you have the whole, oh yes, he brought in the militarized the police in D.C. because of crime, which is crap to begin with. He did it to show that that's what's coming for all Americans. Every state, every city will be militarized. Doesn't matter whether liberal or conservative, all going to be under a police state. And then they're going to take, as YouTube did on the 13th, if you're, depending on your age, you have to verify who you are. If you're a child, you have to show your ID, upload it, or a credit card. Yes, some people had to prove their age so that they can still watch YouTube. Yep. And this is all about censorship and controlling and everything. So you have lost. You cannot beat these people. I try to tell people they don't want to hear it. They think, well, resist. You resist by not voting. Because as a freshman, as a Republican said in an interview, when you get voted in and after you're sworn in, you're taken to a room. This is what freshmen Congress and Senate do. They get put into a room with a phone book, with a phone, a list of names, and told to call them to raise money. Your one job as a freshman is to raise money for your party. Nothing else. Do you understand what that means? You don't have any other job but to raise money. And if you don't do it, then you are removed from office. Palantir has won. You have lost. I don't vote, and as George Carlin said, they rigged the game against you. You will never beat them. And they, yes, have the power you don't have. So go ahead and play their game. Here's the shiny thing, vote. It won't matter. Won't matter if Burundi wins, if Cuomo wins, if a butt plug wins in New York. Burundi's already talking to Obama, so he's already fucked. Yeah. And people don't want to hear this. Why I don't have a huge following? I don't present myself as someone who will lie to you. I'll tell you exactly the way I see things. Some people hear this and they go, yeah, I have a small following. I do movie reviews. I haven't talked about politics because, frankly, you've lost. But people, I can't live in the fantasy world of, make believe and da-da-da, we're winning. No, you've lost. And I'll say it again, Palantir's won. They run the government. Whitney Webb said this, now they're attacking her. Are you going to wake up, people? You're like this. You have blinders on, you think you're running things, and you're not realizing they have been running you in circles, manipulating you, getting you to do what they want. These people run the world, and nothing can stop them. When you have the power to do what Palantir can do, no one challenges you. They can shut it all down. So I've come to realize that you can't beat them, but you can, and they're going to change the word definition of protest to terrorist. You already see that happen. Trump already said, and he's been in the Supreme Court's in his pocket. They are controlled. You understand them. Supreme Court rules and told Trump you can change the Constitution with bypass Congress to get rid of birthright citizenship. What do you think they're going to do next? Your right to protest, your free speech will be gone. Your right to own a gun are going to be stripped. From the new Constitution will take away your rights, and you'll live in a police state. You'll have no power to stop them. Just like they can shut it down, So enjoy it. This is the world. You people couldn't leave Trump alone. You put him back in the White House. You couldn't leave Trump alone. You made him run again. You turned him into a sympathetic individual. That people said, yeah, we got to vote for Trump. We've all been persecuted. We know what it's like. And so you made Trump a very sympathetic individual. He's an actual child fucking predator. But no, that's what you do. And I'll just say this, reparations are never coming. They're never coming. You can talk it until you're blue in the face, but I'll say this, I've heard rich black people, we're talking black people who came for nothing, who made something, like Judge Joe Brown. I heard him talk about his father. How his father grew up in segregated, I think it was the South, and faced actual racism, real racism. And he moved to California, and still it was racist. What he didn't cry and complain. He worked his ass off and achieved everything. And he taught his son this. So when Judge Joe Brown tells her no, he doesn't believe in reparations, that's because personally he didn't get any handout. He had to work for everything he had. His father gave him a good work, and he worked hard for everything he has. And you hear this from Judge Judy when it comes to feminism. She didn't try to change things to make her feel better. She worked hard in a man's world and became something. Judge Joe Brown, his father and everything, they worked hard to achieve where they are. They didn't get a handout or anything. This is why people like Oprah Winfrey and everything will never support it, because they'll say you were not a slave. See, and the peasant mind and the slave mind is to go, well, we deserve it because of systemic racism. You'll hear black people say you look at the system, there is no systemic racism. Does America have a racist problem? Yes. But systemically, hell no. As I've heard on Due Dissidents, they said DC crime is down in blue cities a lot. One thing I have noticed where I live, because I lived in Portland and I moved to Gresham, is fucking trash everywhere. And a lot of places like out where I live. It's disgusting to see it on the street. And it seems liberals don't give a shit. They seem to have lost their fucking mind that they're throwing the trash out the window. And I mean, I'm not joking. I see a lot of trash. The homeless can't camp out here in Gresham, but they'll come out and leave their trash. And it's disgusting. And that is liberalism is like a mind virus. People want to shit on my city. It's only like this because people from other states came and turned it to shit. Yeah. Liberals from California, from people from Arizona, from other states moved here, and they turned this place into shit. And I'm like, wow, I can't do anything about the trash. I can't pick it up. I don't have the health or the energy. But we have people that literally see trash and they just keep going. It's disgusting. So yeah, you're going to see people say, no, you don't get, and I saw Savvy bring up, why did the Japanese Americans get what they call reparations? Why? Because most of those people were still alive that were in those internment camps. Yes. But descendants of slaves? No, they'd say, you didn't go through slavery. Even though slavery is a thing now, it's like, yeah, you're not actually have anything to do. This is from people, blacks and whites, who have said, you're not owed anything for slavery. You never went through it. And I actually heard a black person literally say, it's peasant mind to say that someone owes you reparations for something you never went through. And black people always saying, well, look, it's racism. It's only racism because you let it. You let things keep you down. You don't want to pick yourself up. You want to have it handed to you. That's why you hear from people that work their ass off to get where they are. Go, why should we give you a free handout? Well, because and you don't have a good argument. I'm not defending this. I'm telling you what rich people like Candace Owens even said. I don't like Candace Owens, but she has said, yeah, you're not owed anything. You're not owed reparations. If you look at the first slave owners, were two Africans. And the slave trade started in Africa on the west coast by the Bhutan, who, before the Portuguese built their fort, they enslaved their own people. When they sent their goons out and they conquered another village, they'd bring the people back. And you know what they do? Keep ones they wanted, others they cannibalized. They cut their hearts out for their gods and then ate the bodies. Yes, this was common before the Portuguese. When the Portuguese built their fort, they sold them to them, which allowed them to get them to the Americas and to Europe. Muslims did this shit. There's no defending slavery of any kind. Everybody's done it through history. Hell, blacks, Africans were sold to the native people. Hell, Don Sheila found this out when his family, when he had a DNA test done, like to find out about his everything about himself. He found out that one of his, he's a descendant of a slave that was sold to a native person. So yeah, but the thing is, you're not winning, you're losing. Israel's still here. They haven't been defeated. Iran didn't defeat Israel. Iran, I'm pretty sure, was told to stop by Russia and China because they attacked Qatar. People want to, Morani wants to run his mouth and everything of, not realizing Palantir is going to overthrow his government. They're just playing the long game. You're all too stupid to realize this. Everything else, they've regime changed. So they're going to regime change Iran. In no country, everybody has proxy companies that can pretend that they stand opposed, but they don't give a shit. I keep saying that. Everything you're seeing is orchestrated by Palantir to do one thing. Like DI, get you to turn on each other, distractions. So you don't see what's coming next. Like the whole Epstein thing is a distraction. For what they have worth. Look, you just saw a police state in DC, a city that's actually from 2 states. It can't be a state. It's actually created from taking land from, I think, Delaware and Virginia. Yeah, after the original state. Capital of this country was Pennsylvania. Before people tried to overthrow the government, they moved it to what's now DC. That was never meant to be a place for regular people to live. It was supposed to just be for the government to live. Presidents, the, Supreme Court, and those men in House and Senate that come to work when they're in DC, District of Columbia. Yeah. But yeah, I hardly ever talk about this stuff. But I find the amount of stupid people, it's funny how they think they know what's going on, they really don't. But hey, that's the world we live in. Palantir's won, you've lost, and they're going to complete their genocide. And you're going to sit here and go, well, somebody stop it. No, there's no stopping it. And that's not a peasant mind, that's a reality check. I try to tell people, you cannot beat these people. They're psychotically evil. And they love doing this shit. So yeah, you have the Sudan genocide, you have Rwanda. You have the genocide in Congo, you have in Somalia. Yeah. So genocide still goes on around the world, like in Africa and other places. But only people care about Gaza. That won't be here. Yeah. So I just want to cover that. So yeah, this is Gilgamesh. I will talk to you later. Bye.